just to begin today, I'm going to go ahead and speed over a lot of the early game prep and just talk to you briefly about the mod and what it is that we're doing today. So today we're going to be attempting to restore the Kaiser to power in modern day Germany through the Kaiser Rises mod. And it's an interesting path, but I have to say it was really hard piecing together enough content for this, because to lose the first war, you kind of have to almost force yourself to lose. And to me personally, that's never been fun. But by the time the second war comes around, you're just so powerful, you run them over too quickly. A lot of this footage is actually just going to be me playing with volunteers and running over the east. So let's just hop right into it. We're going to slow things down here in just a few moments. Yeah, the first thing I tried to do is help out Afghanistan, but I forgot that America brokered a peace deal with the Taliban, at least a ceasefire for the time being. So yeah, I mean, I lived through that and I forgot that it happened. Anyway, I still had volunteers in Somalia helping to fight al-Shabaab, and I still had volunteers in Yemen. Now, for the time, they had been sent to the Republic of Yemen to go against the Houthis. It was kind of, I guess you could call it a little bit of keeping in character, because you start as a republic, of course. So I was just helping out what I figure NATO would help out in the time. But once the Republic started to fall apart, I flipped and sent my volunteers to the Houthis, because I'm not trying to die. I'm just trying to occupy my time over here.
It's Mike Tyson. What the fuck are you doing here? What are you doing here in Somalia? Mike Tyson.
Yeah, so at this point I was just playing World Police. I don't know what I was doing. I was getting involved in every conflict in the world. ISIS popped up in Nigeria, and I just decided that had to die immediately. That could not be allowed to live. They started pushing into Nigeria, and I was like, okay, that's enough of that. We got to take care of that. And in keeping with the spirit of putting out fires, I just had to go to the state of Florida and help out Ron DeSantis take care of the Atomwaffen division. It's definitely an important thing to take care of, I'd say. You know, you never want to let the Atomwaffen division get going. If it unites America, it's all over. You know, that's all I'm saying, man. It's all over, because then they have a nuclear stockpile. I kept continuing to monitor the American situation, and I noticed I had some really good opportunities to help the Federalists in their struggle against the Patriot Front. Because while the Patriot Front had not yet gone to war with the Union, they were still fighting the state and the city of New York. And pivoting to the South, I saw that Alabama was on its last legs, so I decided to try and assist them in their moment of dire need. And just observing the situation, it's always very interesting to watch what happens in the United States in this mod, because anything can pop out of there, especially if you leave it alone. But just a division here and there can completely turn the tide of the war. And as you can see, Patriot Front was already at war with Trump at this point, so, you know, any moment, and they're going to go to war with the Union, and it's just, you know, it's not looking good for the National Front. It really isn't. Eventually, Alabama fell apart. The state just didn't have enough troops left after being pushed back to just the city of Huntsville, so I sent some volunteers to the Black Liberation Army just out of curiosity. I'd never actually seen them win in the South before, so I wanted to see what would happen if they did. And, well, I got a little overzealous. I got myself encircled, and I got myself taken out. I had to pull my volunteers out. I sent some more in, accidentally sent them to the Confederates, pulled those out, sent them back to the BLA again, because the BLA actually, I thought they were going to lose, but they started to rebound despite being outnumbered. And I mean, really, everything in this can be a wild card. So when I got my volunteer in, I just started going. We went up and we took Jackson, and then I went down to get New Orleans. And at that point, it was over. The AI and I were just kind of snaking through what was left of the League of the South, and it was just kind of a cakewalk, honestly. It wasn't that hard. And at the end of it all, the BLA winds up forming the Republic of New Africa. There's no new leaders or anything that I can see, because I know some of the other unifiers, like Cascadia, have like sneak peek content where you get to see a new leader. And it was at this stage that I kind of decided to just entirely give up reason and just go for what's interesting to me. So I sent volunteers to go help out the Zapatistas in Mexico during the cartel war. Because Mexico, after the United States breaks apart, goes into a civil war of its own where most of the components are just different cartels. There are a few Republican elements, like from the federal government, that are around Mexico City, but the Zapatistas are a communist faction that spawn on the little Mayan peninsula at the tip end of Mexico. So I decided to help them out a little and see if I couldn't give them an advantageous position. And even though it seems like I'm struggling, I did eventually realize later in the game that they won. Probably because of my assistance in taking so much of Mexico in the early game for them.
Alright, so it's kind of as I figured would happen. They've declared on everybody, and they're struggling greatly as a result. This war will go on for probably 4 more years, I'm gonna guess. Quote me on that. It's May 2024, quote me on it. 4 more years.
So as we approached mid-year 2026, the Soviet Union finally invaded Ukraine, and they started to run them over in quick order, which means that the war was going to come fast and I had to be prepared. And now it started. So now NATO is at war with the Soviet Union, and for me to go down a non-democratic path, that is restoring the Kaiser in this instance, you do have to lose this war. But ever since they did a rebalancing of the NATO war went from being impossible if you're on the NATO side to being really, honestly, pretty simple. I had created some units, and you can see they're pushing into Romania pretty good, but the AI in the north does a really good job of pressing into Belarus and the Baltic. So if you have 2 full armies, which I did, or was about to at this point, of good mechanized, you can win the war by just pulling off a few good encirclements and thinning out the Russian line. And I had actually done that once before in a run I did where I played as Democratic Germany, and it was fun, but it was very difficult. It wasn't very difficult. If you were on the Russian side, it would have been difficult to hold. I've played on the Soviet side of it before, and it's pretty easy on the Soviet side too, but you are still outnumbered 2-1. So it's not easy because it's imbalanced. It's easy because I just had better quality units. Pretty much everything I produce in this mod is mechanized, or a mix of mechanized with tanks. It pays to have quality over quantity in this mod for sure, but yeah, I just kind of had to pull back so that the Soviets could get their 2 victory points that are absolutely necessary, that being Warsaw and Budapest. And honestly, they were taking their sweet time to get to Budapest, but once they got over the Carpathians, it was over. I did some limited counterattacks in Poland and found some difficulty, but For the most part, it was pretty easy to hit the Russian units if I needed to, just not quite as easy as I would have expected. Now at this stage, I've already done 7 years of in-game time, you know. This is a long haul mod. This is a mod that will take you all the way to 2032 or beyond on an ordinary game. So, I mean, when you're playing this, you're going to play it for a long time. Now, a lot of this, I was sitting at 4 or 5 speed because you're just waiting for things to happen. You're just waiting for stuff to happen. You're doing a lot of preparing. You're making units, you know, but most of the time, it's just a lot of waiting. So I've got this clip is going at 51.5 times normal speed, just to show you how long some of this stuff takes. But finally, after 9 in-game years, we finally did it. Heinrich of House Rus is put onto the throne of Germany. Yep, it's not a Hohenzollern. It's some guy from Thuringia. But, hey, it's still the Kaiser. He's our Kaiser. He's the people's Kaiser. He's the guy that we need to get some retribution. Anyhow, yeah, I'd been building up an army this whole time and trying to build up an economy. But when the German Empire took over, I got hit by such terrible hyperinflation that my economy was just completely in the shitter at this point.
Here we go.
So without any further ado, here goes the invasion of the renewed Warsaw Pact against the German Empire.
victory. Ultimate and final victory over our enemy. Holy fucking shit. I was right. I was right. I made that prediction. May 2024. It's May 2020. Holy fucking shit. I totally wasn't a guess. That was educated. I know what I'm talking about.